Hey everybody, Captain Lou here with another edition of Tigers Daily in partnership with the Fan Arch Network. Happy Tuesday, July the 28th, 2026. Wow, July is flying by. The baseball season is flying by. Over 100 games gone, a little over 50 to go. So it's getting there, isn't it? Now, the next important date, obviously, is in 6 days with the trade deadline. But Detroit's got some work to do before that, obviously. We want to take this moment to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Tigers Daily. We go over everything, the good, the bad, everything in between, the rumors, talk about the games from the night before, take a look ahead, all that and a whole lot more here on Tigers Daily. For those of you that have subscribed, I say thank you. The comments, the banner back and forth has been awesome. The viewership's been great, and I thank you. This is what it's all about. I'm a fan, and you're a fan. We talk Tigers baseball. We have fun doing it. We're going to keep doing it as well. All right, not so fun and not such a happy day in the Tiger clubhouse. The losing streak is at 3 now. 2 games over the weekend that they should have won against Kansas City. And then last night against Baltimore, Kiter Montero just didn't have his best stuff. Whenever it seemed like the Tigers would get close, something bad would happen. The Tigers spotted them a 3-0 lead in the top of the second. Then they get a run back to make it 3-1. Then they score to make it 4-1. The Tigers cut it to 4-3. Montero had some good stuff in the 4th inning, mowed him down in order. But then in the 5th, Tavares came up and blasted one off of Kiter to make it 5-3. Then Hanafy came in. He didn't have his best stuff either. The right-hander, he has a hard time. It seems like he's really struggling right now. Hanafy is pitching to right-handed pitching, and it's kind of been, the MO of the bullpen. So inconsistent, to say the least. He gave up that home run, that 2-run home run to Mayo, and that really was the nail in the coffin for the Tigers. The Orioles got another run in the 6th, but it was too much. Detroit got a couple of runs back to make it 7-5. The home run in the top of the 6th made it 8-5, and that was it. The Orioles bullpen shut down the Tigers the rest of the way. The Tigers drop another one, 8-5. Coupled with Cleveland getting rained out yesterday, the Tigers now are 4 games back in the wild card. That's the one we're going to keep an eye on the most right now. The closest that Detroit can come to a playoff spot at the moment is that wild card race. I know there's a lot of teams to jump over, but they're 4 games out now. Cleveland's got a day-night double dip today to make up for that rain out. But, of course, Detroit has to take care of business at home, which they couldn't do again as they dropped one 8-5 to the Baltimore Orioles. Losing streak at 3. Now, we talked about it at the beginning of the homestand. And, that Detroit realistically needed to go 5-2. And the opportunities were there. Well, obviously, that's not possible now. They're 2-3 on the homestand. These next 2 are paramount for the Tigers. I mean, there's so many things that come into play, including the trade deadline. So it's imperative starting tonight with Troy Melton. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, a tough one for the Tigers. And again, you can't blame the bat. You can't blame the bats. They had 11 hits last night. They had opportunities early to bury the Orioles, at least take the lead, but they just couldn't do it. They got 5 runs, 11 hits. Normally, that gives anybody a fighting chance, but the Tigers, just with the pitching, not up to snuff again last night. Kiter Montero, again, not one of his better outings, giving up the runs, giving up 5 runs, and then, of course, Hanafy giving up those next 2 in that crucial 5th inning. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for the Tigers in the game last night. So let's see if they can bounce back tonight as they go to Game 2 of the 3-game set. Well, there was some news on the injury front for the Tigers. Kerry Carpenter, he was hobbled again with what we thought was a heel injury, and I think that is bothering him a little bit. But as it turns out, he's going to be on the injured list for 10 days at least with plantar fasciitis, it's called, or that's what they're calling it. Eduardo Valencia back up with the Tigers. He was there in the dugout yesterday on call, if you will, just in case. But about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, they decided to put Carpenter on the IL. So Valencia will take his place. And we'll see if he gets any playing time now for the Tigers. And obviously, the big injuries or the big situations, if you will, that we're looking at right now for the Tigers When is Javi Baez going to get sent back up to the parent club? What about Jackson Jobe? Jackson Jobe's going to have another rehab start in Toledo. I don't think Jobe's going to come back at least until next week. And I think a lot of that's going to play too is what happens with the Tigers at the deadline. Are they going to get rid of Mize? Yeah, I'll throw Casey Mize's name out there. The rumors have it that he's a 60% chance of being dealt by the deadline. And of course, Skubal. That's the name on everybody's list. We've been talking about that ever since we started Tigers Daily. He's obviously the number one object of everybody's desire on the trade market. So I think that's going to play when Jackson Jobe comes off the injured list and back up to the parent club to get his opportunity with the Tigers. Now, with Javi Baez, who knows? I have a sneaking suspicion Baez will be with the Tigers on their West Coast trip. You might see him Wednesday afternoon, but I just have a feeling he's going to get another start probably in Toledo, is my guess. But I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if he'll play tomorrow in that day game, the finale of the homestand for the Tigers. I think my prediction is he'll be with Detroit when they take on the Athletics Friday night out west. And it couldn't come at a better time. I love, James Altman, he's got a decent glove, and I know he had the 3-run jack, but the guy's batting 158, and he looks lost out there more often than not. And you got to get Baez in there to give him an opportunity. I mean, I know he's a wild one when it comes to with the swings and misses, but he's a more proven hitter than Altman is, and I wonder why they don't take a look at some of the other bats in AAA or even AA. We talked about Bigby. He's batting over 300. What about Gage Workman? I know he struggled the first time he was up with Detroit, but my goodness, he's batting over 350 in Toledo right now. Maybe he gets another look. But I think Baez will be back. My guess it's going to be this weekend when they start their road trip with the Athletics 3 with them. So those are the injury updates right now for the Tigers. Carpenter, his target date obviously in 10 days, the middle of the road trip. So, and Jobe, we also, like we said, not sure when his timetable is to come back. But Valencia is up for the time being for the Tigers as Carpenter went on the IL. All right, there's something that I want to talk about here that, again, this is something that just gets my blood boiling. And I know it may sound a little bit of homerism on my part, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. Yesterday was the Hall of Fame ceremonies. And, the 3 that got in, Kent, Andrew Jones, and I can't remember the third one. They're deserving. I'm not going to take anything away from them. But my issue is, why is Lou Whitaker not in the Hall of Fame? Now, his numbers are similar to Kent. And I think the number one reason it bothers me, well, there's a few reasons, but if you look at the records, obviously he and Alan Trammell, they hold the record for double play combination, 19 years. Now, I know Whitaker wasn't the biggest home run hitter. When he first came up back in the 70s, there was years he didn't have any home runs, or he had one. But he hit for average. And then he kind of changed his swing a little bit. He had that uppercut swing. Then he started hitting the long ball. I think 1 or 2 years he had over 20 home runs, but steady in the field. Back in the 80s, in the late 70s and the 80s, fielding played more into it, I think, than it does now. I mean, because the way the game is played now, you've got the home run swings. It's home run or bust more often than not. So it takes a little bit away from the fielding aspect. But 19 years as a double play combination. He and Alan Trammell hold the record for most double plays by a duo, 1,307. So you tell me that's not Hall of Fame worthy? I can go back to some of the Hall of Fame combinations and some of these players that are on some of these teams from New York and LA and Boston that are in there because they played in New York, LA, or Boston, or Philadelphia, whatever. I guarantee you that if Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker were a double play combination in Chicago, New York, LA, Boston, or Philadelphia, they both would have been in the Hall of Fame by now. The other reason I think Lou Whitaker may not be in, he wasn't the most well-liked by the media. He had his beliefs, his religious beliefs. He didn't come out for the national anthem, and I think that rubbed some of the people the wrong way. And for that, I say shame on you. Because, I could talk about it for an hour, but I won't. I mean, to me, it's selective favoritism in the Hall of Fame. What say you? What is your thought on Lou Whitaker being snubbed for the Hall of Fame? I'd love to see your comments on it. It really rubs me the wrong way. Whenever I listen to some of these national pundits, they try to come up with all these reasons why he's not. But yet, in the same breath, you have a guy like Harold Baines in the Hall of Fame? Really? Seriously? I mean, it's turned into the Hall of Very Good. And so if that's the case, Lou Whitaker should be in. And he's not. Whenever when you've got a record holder that, I don't know if that record will ever be beaten, that double play combination. 19 years they played together as the Keystone combination. 19 years. They're not in the Hall of Fame. I see these other players getting in for longevity. I mean, there may come a day when Lou Whitaker gets in. I know they have all these subcommittees and everything, but he should be in. And I know I might sound like a homer, but so what? Lou Whitaker deserves to be in. And when I see these lists every year, and there are good players. I know there's other good players that should be in. Dale Murphy comes to mind. I get it. He's just one of them. But when I look at some of these Yankees and some of these Red Sox and some of these Dodgers that are in with worse batting averages, never played as long as he did, and those are criterias. It just gets me going. And it really pisses me off, I'm going to be honest with you. So I just thought we'd talk about that tonight a little bit. What's your thoughts on Lou Whitaker not being in the Hall of Fame? Should he be in there? Maybe I'm making too much of a big deal out of it. It's every year when Hall of Fame time comes up. This is the one that I always think should be in, should get more of consideration. It shouldn't have been that hard for Alan Trammell to get in, or Jack Morris. All Jack Morris was the winningest pitcher in the 1980s. It was almost like it took an act of God for those two guys to get in. Lou Whitaker should be in with them as well. All right, we mentioned it. Game 2 coming up tonight of the 3-game set for the Tigers. Troy Melton needs to bring a spark for the Tigers. We got to get 6 solid innings on him at least, maybe 7. The Tiger bats got to keep it going. The season, I'm not saying the season's over if they don't win this series. That's foolish. But these games are starting to add up. Now, like we mentioned at the top, the end of July is upon us. August 1st is Saturday. The trade deadline is Monday. All this talk about the trade deadline. Every game that Detroit loses is going to make it even a little more difficult for Scott Harris and the Brain Trust to decide what to do with Tarek Skubal, Casey Mize. Who knows? A guy like Spencer Torkelson even. I mean, I don't think they would trade him. I don't know what they could get out of him. But then again, it also changes the mind, should Detroit be buyers? We talked about it yesterday, and I'm going to go over some of the comments here in a moment. Detroit needs relief help, regardless if they're buyers or sellers. And, and I know Detroit 2 years ago went on that crazy run after they were sellers, but you can't count on that. It starts now. Detroit's not out of it yet, and I'm still looking at it with the glass half full. I think the opportunity's there for the Tigers. We're going to get more in depth, really, again. We'll talk about it. We'll spend more time on the trade deadline, the pieces Detroit could get. But, I'm trying to hold out hope here. Detroit can go on some kind of a streak here, because I really am. I don't like to be the guy that says trade for prospects. I hate looking to the future. But the realistic part of it says, I don't think Skubal's going to be here after the year's over. Yeah, I'd love to see him stay and Detroit get back in the playoffs and potentially go to the World Series. That's what you play for. And who knows if prospects are ever going to materialize. A lot of them don't. Let's just look back at the Justin Verlander trade. So it is such a fine line, towing that line, the trade deadline line, if you will. And it's just, oh my gosh, it is so difficult. It really is a tough spot. So, anyways, game 2 tonight for the Tigers against the Orioles. Should be a good matchup. Detroit needs it. Troy Melton on the hill. And then, of course, tomorrow afternoon, Tarek Skubal going to be on the mound for the Tigers. And I ask you this, should he pitch? Should they save him? I think they pitch him. You got to pitch him. You got to play. You're still in it. You got to pitch him. But I'm seeing reports and other people on some other shows saying that maybe they should save him. Don't risk him getting hurt. Well, my goodness, you could walk across the street and get run over by a streetcar. So, I mean, or struck by a bolt of lightning, whatever. You can't play that way. You can't play scared. Although sometimes I think A.J. Hinch manages scared. But that's, again, another argument for another time. All right, let's, one thing that we like to do, let's take a look at some of the comments. Again, I appreciate all the input here, all the feedback, all the banter back and forth. It's awesome. I want to go with Rockin' Roy 58. Middle inning relievers have been horrible this year. If Skubal gets traded, the Tigers need a current starter, a reliever or two, and a top prospect in return. Couldn't agree more with you right there, Rockin' Roy. That's what I would go. If Detroit is going to trade Skubal, that's what they need. Now, I know the one team that everybody's talking about maybe is the Dodgers. We talked about it earlier in the week with Emmett Sheehan. But I don't know who else would be able to give a starter in return or who would be willing to do it. You know, yes, I agree. They need relievers bad. They need middle relief. That's why I like that Lewis Vorland trade prospect yesterday. I think Toronto, they're still in it, though, and I don't know if they'd be willing to trade him and his 21 saves. And Mason Miller, yeah, Detroit's going to have to give up a lot for him. And I don't know if San Diego's really going to get rid of him. They just traded for him. So, but I really agree with you, Rockin' Roy, on that one with the middle inning relievers. And I can't argue with David J.D. Detroit's, you've got the dollar bin for bullpen pitchers. It is what it is. You get what you get, and the timely hitting. I can't argue with that either. Now here's one. Is Timothy Smith. This is what happens when I don't have my glasses on. I guess I better start wearing my glasses when I do this. What bothers him is the base running. And the batter's not changing their approach after the first two reach in a one-run game. Couldn't agree more. How much of that is on the coaching? But I got to go back to something, though, that I wish I would have talked about yesterday while we're going over the comments. I think it was Saturday's game. It was Saturday's game. Ninth inning, runners on first and third. I got to give A.J. Hinch his flowers. They tried the suicide squeeze. They had Kansas City for sure. They would have never stopped it. All Veerling had to do was put the bat to the ball. You see how, and this is another thing that drives me, I'll keep it clean. Let's just say drives me bananas. Nobody knows how to bunt anymore. You don't slap at it. You don't jab at it. You let the ball come to the bat. And I know bunts are almost archaic, a thing of the past. A.J. Hinch, he talks about fundamentals all the time, about pitching fundamentals and hitting fundamentals and running. Well, these guys don't know how to bunt, and that cost them in that game because they had him fooled. And then the very next pitch, it was a strike right down the middle, a buntable ball, and he let it go. And again, he probably would have got home. He squared the bunt, or maybe if he did, he pulled it back and it was a perfect pitch. So I know that's not really base running, and I agree. I think maybe what Timothy really is bothered about was McKinstry getting thrown out at third. And that might be true in that instance. I really thought that it was probably a good play. It took a really good throw to get him, and it was an eyelash that they got him. They did get him. So, and again, Chico Sequaltra, I think that's what it is. I'm sorry, Chico. Again, I'll start wearing my glasses, I promise. Base running, again, all right. You've spoken. You're right. Base running has always been a problem. Now, Joey Cora, who didn't know a stop sign, yeah, he could have been blamed. Now you can't blame him for it, though. So again, it goes back to the basics. And I think that's, and that's part of the reason why you're blowing leads, because you're blowing opportunities. You guys are 100% right. Now I want to bring something. I want to bring something to attention too. Let's see if I can find it here. We talked about the other day. We also asked about what was the first game you went to as a first Tiger game or maybe even a major league game, and Timothy Smith again chimed in. And how cool is this? He was at the same game that Richie was at in 1967 on July 9th. And the cool thing, if you look in the remarks, and Richard replied on it as well, Timothy also shared a YouTube clip of that game. So take a look at the comments. I think that's really cool. So how amazing is that? Is these two guys have been to that game 49 years ago? They were both at the same game. I think that's awesome. And that's what we do here on Tigers Daily. The chat. Love interacting with you all. So much fun. And again, I apologize to Bob Smith. No more baseball. The last thing I want to do is distract you guys. I know I fling my arms out. I hope that's not as bad as the baseball. And I don't take it personal. The only way I'm going to get better if you guys tell me stuff like that, and I really do appreciate it. It's one of those things, if I don't have, I have the baseball in my hand sometimes when I'm watching the game, or like when I'm watching a football game, I got a little Nerf football. I don't throw it at the TV, thank goodness, but no, I appreciate the comments. And again, a lot of them talking about, trading Skubal. So I think the majority of you are all in agreement that you want Skubal to go. As much as I'd love to keep him. And again, I don't like playing for the future. The future's now, especially for guys like me that are in our 60s, right? But if you think he's not going to be here, you want to try to get the haul for him, you got to do it. And, because when baseball does start up, I don't know. All right, well, that's going to do it here for another edition of Tigers Daily. Again, thanks for the comments, everybody. This is what I love doing right here, looking at the comments. I will start wearing my glasses starting tomorrow so I can read the comments a little better. But again, this is why we're here. The banner. You're a fan just like I am. And we all want the Tigers to win, and we all want them to do better. Even with the quotes that I know some think that they don't have a chance in God's green earth. I get it. But that's what we're here for, to have fun. So keep the comments coming. We'll read more of them every day. We're going to make it a staple here on Tigers Daily. So again, for those of you that haven't subscribed, we'd love to have you on board. Just hit the subscribe button. 27 shows. We're over 500 subscribers. That's amazing. Thank you, everybody, for doing that, for those of you that have done it. And even if you haven't, thank you for watching us and being a part of the discussion. This is, again, it's all about Tiger baseball. We're all fans, and we like to have fun talking about it. All right, that's going to do it for now. Until tomorrow, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long.